City council update?
Check Facebook tomorrow.
Good evening. I hope everyone had a nice Easter weekend and Easter yesterday. Before we start our meeting, I'm going to ask Reverend Jerry Langley, if he will, to give our invocation. I forgot the doctor part.
It's all right. I'll answer by Jerry. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we are grateful and thankful for the opportunity to come together again to do the business of the county. God, we just ask for your wisdom and understanding, God, to make wise and prudent decisions concerning your people. We thank you and we honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Call the meeting to order, and I would ask that you stand, and at this time, Commissioner Tandy Dunn will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Okay, item number C is the conflict of interest disclosure statement. Does anyone have a conflict with any of the agenda items tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, raise your right hand. Okay, we're down to items for presentation, and we're down to the service award presentations. Dolores?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have one employee here tonight to accept her award, Miss Stephanie Oglesby, and she's with our Register of Deeds. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Very good, thank you. We have one other employee that I would like to acknowledge that is not here tonight, Miss Angie Pitts with the County Manager's Office, who also has completed her 5 years of service. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Dolores? We do not have anyone for public comments.
Wow.
So we don't have any of our elected officials here. Well, he's already said no. We're not going to beg him. We're down for items for consent. Any item that you'd like to have pulled for discussion?
Pull item number 3.
Item number.
Health Consolidated Agreement. That's a big contract. Yeah, the health department always comes back and starts telling you what you have to do because of the consolidated agreement, so.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the,
Motion to approve.
do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of accepting the items for consent other than number 3, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you.
Can we go ahead and hit the consolidated agreement?
Yes.
So Janela's not here tonight. She had her daughter had an event she needed to be at. But what she provided to me was that there are no changes in this agreement from last year, at all, because I asked that specific question, at budget review or at, agenda review. She said there were absolutely no changes in this year's contract compared to last year's contract. And I think she said it was $27 million, 21, 27. But that's the amount. So, if you turn it down, you don't get that money.
That's the amount of money that the state's gonna provide to us.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, well, if there's no change in it, that is the big question.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second to approve the 27 consolidated agreement. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay, we're down for items for discussion under economic development. And as Susan is coming up, this first one is a public hearing. So I would ask for a motion to go into the public hearing on the land purchase.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the going into the public hearing, raise your right hand. All right. Floor is yours, Susan.
In accordance with North Carolina General Statute, this is a public hearing for Project Fala. It represents an international swimming pool manufacturer who proposes to purchase 5.29 acres of land in the Washington Beaufort County Industrial Park. The address is 1035 Page Road. They anticipate creating approximately 75 new jobs with an initial capital investment of over $2 million and additional investment expected as the project develops. The company will be required to meet its capital investment commitments within 2 years. The public benefit derived from FALA includes the creation of new jobs and a long-term increase in the tax base. The public hearing has been properly advertised as required by statute and is attached in your packet. We request to consider any public comment regarding this proposed land purchase.
We did not have anyone sign up for the hearing under the public comment. Questions from commissioners? Okay.
Is this what we'll be voting on next? Will that have to do with us giving them a deed and they have 2 years to perform?
Yes, I'll go into that.
That's the second part of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the only thing under the public hearing.
Correct.
All right. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for us to come out of the public hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second to come out of the public hearing. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Susan, you want to move into the next one, which is the, well, it's the same subject.
Yes, sir. For decision, excuse me, is the proposed land purchase in the Washington Beaufort County Industrial Park. It's located at 1035 Page Road. Parcel ID is 5667-79-5637, and the parcel map is included in your packet. Again, they're an international swimming pool manufacturer looking to establish U.S.-based operation here in Beaufort County. They've secured a federal EIN, incorporated in North Carolina, and identified our site through a commercial listing platform. So this is a market-driven opportunity. They're proposing to purchase the property at $20,000 per acre with no incentives. They anticipate, again, creating 75 new jobs, investing at least $2 million within 2 years, with plans to grow beyond that. The use is consistent with the industrial park and aligns well with our existing workforce, especially with the use of composites in the boat building industry. And to protect the county, the agreement will include a reversion clause if they don't meet their investment within 2 years. We are coordinating with the City of Washington. A public hearing is scheduled for their meeting on April 13th. And it is the recommendation of our office that the board authorize county staff to move forward with the property sale and execute the necessary documents to close this transaction. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I have one question.
Yes.
You spoke of a reversionary clause, and they're just buying the property at $20,000, which is a very good deal, but that's just a straight arm's length transaction. What do we get back if they do not perform?
We get the land back.
We get the land back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, but okay. Is $20,000 just a really great deal?
Per acre.
I know, $25,000 per acre. I get that, $105,000 and some change.
That's what the appraised value for all the lots are in the Washington Beaufort County Industrial.
That's an old appraisal. That land's worth more than that, but, I mean, considering all the utilities there. But still, that's, they're giving back the $105,000. And if the building's on top of it, then we get that back too, right?
If there are buildings at that time.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So the county attorney has worked on that and can answer any questions you have regarding the deed work.
I'm sure that would be a fixture item.
It would be, yes. So to answer your question, it requires substantial completion within that 2-year period. If that is not done, then whatever is on the property at that time would revert back to the county.
Tandy?
Close to question. What is the property, that building that's across the street from this property?
That's IMT, or excuse me, it's Intermarket Technologies or Recycling Bin, that's owned by Scott Gardner.
Everybody else good? Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we move forward and authorize and approve the county attorney, the county manager, and economic development director to work with the city of Washington to draw up the papers to sell the 5.29 acre parcel.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion and we have a second. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Thank you. Thank you very much, Susan. We're down to the tax department, and the first one is the foreclosure procedures in Beaufort County. Wynn?
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to take a few minutes. Back in February, we had our budget meetings, and there were a lot of questions that came up about foreclosures. So I wanted to kind of go over that a little bit, let you see where the program's at. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any of those tonight. So basically, review for foreclosure. We started the program in May of 2004. May of 2004. We had 3,750 cases that we have sent to ZLS as of today's date. The number?
Real quick, are you driving that or is Brandon driving it? Because your slide hadn't changed. I'm not sure who's driving it. It's up there. Brandon, are you moving that forward? He's got it. Hold
Yeah.
on. Wait a minute, you got it.
Go back one. Go back, Brandon.
There
There we go. Sorry about that. So the number of cases cleared has been 3,335 cases. When you sit there and look at that, that's 88.93% of cases that have been cleared through foreclosure. We rank 4th in the number of cases referred to ZLS. Now, with that said, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? In the first 3 years, we sent 2,000 cases over. In my opinion, that's too many that we didn't do the work we needed to or everything we needed to make sure that those cases were correct that went over. Right now, there's only 400 cases that are outstanding. 120 of those are basically in the last 3 years, but the 280-ish are the cases that you guys see the most up there. you guys have the most questions about. So what we're doing is we're going to look at all these cases. Oh, there it is. In March, we had a meeting, and the meeting was Lloyd Salter, myself, and Mark Bardell and his staff. What we did was took an in-depth review of all open cases that were on his sheet that he provided us. That is the new sheet that I provide you, that's color-coded and got everything on it so you can follow it better than the previous sheet we had. So what was determined was we needed to do a review of some of these older cases. And so what we're doing is a joint effort is being done, and I will tell you, gentlemen, first time this has happened, that both offices are working on it. Land Records, Assessor's Office, and the Collector's Office. We're reviewing all these properties to make sure, number one, they're properties. Number two, they have good values on them. And number three, they're what we consider target cases to go after for foreclosure. So basically, we're just taking a complete look at everything. We've looked at two different styles of foreclosure. The mortgage, which is what we do at this time, and the in-rem process. So ZLS does both, but right now they mainly do the mortgage foreclosures for our office. So, like I said, we're reviewing these cases and we're looking at it. The next page here is basically a rundown of the different types of foreclosures. There's in-rem and there's mortgage. Basically, in-rem deals a lot with lower dollar, basically higher number of people involved. This is a good one to use for those that have heirs or heirs property, which we have a lot of. That's why we're kind of looking at some that we have sent to ZLS in the past that have the heirs and the other things to it, because we want to go through it, review it, and see if we can use an in-rem process to do that. So the mortgage style deals with the older style, which is mortgage or other types of liens and other things that are on the property. So I wanted to provide that sheet there. If you have more questions on it, I'll be glad to kind of go into that. So basically, what we're doing is we're going to go forward with the foreclosure program. But we are very fortunate. We have hired a person in-house that was doing projects for the assessor's office. She was an in-rem specialist in Pitt County. She is helping us right now to review these candidates. We're also having Land Records review these candidates. We're making a better effort to review and see if we can do some in-rem in-house, which would be a little bit less cost than what we're paying today. But it would also help speed up to get these cases back on the books, to get these cases back on the tax roll. So those are things that we're looking to do right now. We're going to use every resource and everything we have possible to make this program work. I'm committing to you guys that I'm putting the extra effort into it to get this thing cleaned up. So, for that, if y'all have any questions.
I just have a comment when, I'm assuming everybody else has the same problem. The copy that we have in here is almost impossible to read. It's so small.
Okay.
Can you make copies of the PowerPoint and send to the commissioners?
I'll forward it to you tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I can send an email tomorrow, either way.
That, she says she'll take care of
I don't need it. I can Zoom on the computer.
it. My paper does not. Okay, Ed.
Okay, Lord, thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I think I'm not going to say you, I think we have done a pretty good job in collecting our taxes. 88% sounds real good, but the problem that I have, and you and I have talked about it times and time again, that 88%, probably 70% of them was somebody that owed $300 or $400, maybe $600 or $700. And I call that picking the low-hanging fruit. But then you had some that has been up there for 15 years that owe you $10,000, $16,000. Those were the one that I was talking about.
Yes, sir, and we're putting all the effort into it to do those.
Yes.
We're putting all the effort to get those. Some of those high dollar cases also have a lot of contingency issues with that we discovered that we needed to go back and look at the whole,
Yeah.
not the part. We needed to go through and look at everything that was tied to it.
And some of these old ladies and men that we put them on this list, there's some contingency too. Poor.
Yes, sir.
That's a contingency, as far as I'm concerned. Poor. We went after them, so we should go after the ones that are able to pay.
Yes, sir.
And that's all. That's the ones that I was talking about.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
But I wanted you to hear everything.
I
wanted you-
understand.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Wynn? Okay, thank you very much, Wynn. Are you going to do,
I'm here for the next thing also.
Okay.
Brian has it also too, so both of us have it.
all right, well, whichever one's going to do it, you're up.
It's Wynn's division.
Yes, sir. The tax office, we have an open position right now that is a 65. That was a senior delinquent tax collection specialist. What I would like to do is to redesign the department a little bit and basically make it a delinquent tax collection specialist. I have one that's a 63, but with combining some of the responsibilities from both the 65 position and the 63 position, we would like to make it a 64 position. What that will entail, we'll be doing the foreclosures we just discussed. We'll also be dealing with bank garnishments, wage garnishments, debt set off, any type of programs to send letters or notifications out to taxpayers that are handled through our office. So I would like to change that by having two resources on it. I just feel like we should be able to be stronger with that group. Where in the past, we've kind of had a little bit of separation, and I feel like just having two people in that position would just make everything stronger for our office for the collection side.
Yes, Jerry?
Is that with someone who's already in your office?
I have one that is and one that is not. And by going to a 64, everything washes, Commissioner, and I felt like that was something you were going to
Okay.
ask.
Other questions? All right, entertain a motion. All right, got a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor of the reclassification, raise your right hand. All right, thank you, Wynn.
Thank you.
Yes.
I got to say this. We've been having reclassifications pretty often here lately. It's time for us to put a break on it, or put a stop on it. Right, we just spent $1.5 million doing a map study. We're getting back in the same position that we were before we done it if we continue to do this. The reason I voted for it because I want to be fair.
Right,
Yes.
I understand.
So, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Booth, I understand the concern that we move things around, but this is a change in the department, so they're doing some different things, which would be appropriate to do a reclassification if MAPS came in and looked at it. It would be appropriate to do that. So if there are, it's not just willy-nilly. There are significant changes in that. So there are additional duties that are being provided. But if the board wants us to do another salary study, we'd be glad to do that.
The other thing about it is we're doing what we was asked to stop doing. I mean, this is the fourth month in a row that we had a reclassification. If we keep on having reclassification, we need to do another map study and bring everybody else in line, or either stop it.
Well, I mean, and I hear that, and we're happy to push forward on another salary study if you want to, if the board would agree to that. I think on this one, it's a wash, so there's not any money. It's not a plus
Everyone
or
been up here
minus.
was a wash.
Right.
Everyone was been a wash, but it still take you out of compliance or out of balance with what you was doing to start with maps.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, because if MAPS would have studied it, that's where they would have done it. That's
Well, what
they
I'm
put it.
saying is, okay, I see the point.
No, I just, and I don't think you guys would have voted for them if they had not been a wash. If they had been additional money, that would have had to come out, you probably wouldn't have voted for them. But because they are awash and the departments have been able to make those such they are awash, then I think that's why they're favorable to the board.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm still gonna stick by what I believe. And that is that if we keep doing it, we're gonna be out of compliance with the map study that we done. If we may need to do another one.
I hear you very clearly, and if you get 3 more votes, we'll start that process.
You got to have the money first.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, guys, we're down to mega site update. Christina or Wes?
Good evening, Commissioners. As requested by Chairman Waters, I have a brief update regarding our mega site projects. Big step has been taken as of April 1st. No April Fools. These projects are out to bid. They have been posted on the Beaufort County website, the North Carolina Department of Administration hub website, historically underutilized businesses, as well as the NCE procurement solicitation page. So these projects are out there for anybody to view that would like to see them. In addition to that, we have researched several local contractors within an hour or so of here. I came up with 20, and we've directly either sent it to them or submitted a website contact thing saying that they're out there available to be viewed and bid on. So we're doing our best to get these out there as far as we can. Some details of the projects. They were posted for bid on April 1st. There will be a mandatory pre-bid conference on April 14th. It will be conducted electronically, Microsoft Teams. So any contractor that wishes to take part has to register, and all of that information's on the bid documents. And then proposals are currently due on April 30th, and they will be opened and read aloud and reviewed following that date. Again, project information can be found on the county's website as well as the other places that I stated. And Garrett and Moore, our engineers, they will be conducting the pre-bid meeting and will facilitate any questions or clarifications that come through as people are reviewing the documents. As of 5 p.m. today, we already had 6 contractors registered for the pre-bid, so we are generating some interest. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
You've answered the ones that I had,
Okay.
so I don't know if anyone else has a question. Anyone? Okay.
All right.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
Moving forward. One other thing, if I can, you've seen it on the screens tonight, just a reminder of our household hazardous waste collection event. It's coming up on April 25th. It'll be at the community college, the same locations it's been the past several springs. It'll be April 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So help us spread the word about that.
Look forward to seeing you.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, Anita, the reimbursement number 16 for the Washington Elementary School.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is reimbursement number 16 for the new elementary school. If you look on page 169, WIMCO's invoice for last month is $2,279,062.49. You can see the amount right beside that the grant will be paying of that is the $1,847,098, and the county shares the $438,000 being paid out of the $10 million that we set aside for the project. At the bottom of that page on 169, you can also see the project-to-date totals. To date, we have paid out $33.369 million. You can see the grant share of that is the $26.9, and our share has been the $6.4 million. The project is now 70% complete. There have been no change orders. I have reviewed the documents here for reimbursement number 16. It has been approved by the school board upon recommendation from Height and Associates to pay this vendor, and I'm asking for your approval of the same this evening.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to authorize the chairman to sign the reimbursement request. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, thank you, gentlemen. You go to the next one, the intercom system for schools, the lottery funds.
Yes, sir, that's on page 190. The schools reached out to me and let me know that their board was requesting that I draw down $31,417.66 of their restricted funding through the Public School Building Capital and Maintenance Fund to pay for that intercom speaker system at the gym at John Small Elementary School. You can see on page 191, the estimate from Eastern Theatrical totaling that same amount, $31,417.66. Before we draw this down, the current balance in that fund that's restricted for the school is $2,227,453. So I'm seeking approval tonight to draw down these funds on behalf of the school and send those funds to them so that they can do this project at John Small Elementary School.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the disbursement of $31,417.66. Is there any comments? Yes.
So within the past year or so, we did a summer project for Chalkawindy Middle School and I think maybe North Side. How's this cost relate to those two projects? Do you know or recall at all?
I do remember that they did do 3 intercoms at 3 other schools, probably about 8-10 months ago, but I don't recall the cost on those. It seems like they were more than this, honestly. I remember one of them being like $43,000, but I'd have to go back and pull those numbers.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other?
I do.
Yes.
Is this in the new John Small or the old? Has to be the new one.
Well, that's a good question, but I'm assuming it's going to be.
North Market Street. We're not putting this old complex over here that school keeps telling us one thing and doing something else.
No, sir, it's for the gym.
Okay. Well, my question is, why do we need this? The school's been there 15 years. Why do we suddenly need a PA system?
That's a question for the school board, sir. I can't answer that. They have requested that I draw the funds down on their behalf. It has to come through the county to the schools.
I'm assuming the other one is, I don't know how old it is, but needs to be replaced.
I move that we table this until the school board sends a representative to explain why they suddenly need this money.
We already have a motion on the table.
A motion to table with a motion on the floor is in order.
Okay, we got 2 motions.
No. You
Yeah,
gotta do the motion to table first.
that's what I understand. Okay, all those in favor of,
Wasn't that was in the discussion stage when the motion had been passed and second, wasn't it?
yes.
So the next action was ready to vote,
That's right.
if I'm not.
Well,
You're putting a
I mean,
motion
I'm
in
just,
discussion.
I'm fine with what you're saying, but what the real problem here is, the chairman did not ask for discussion, and there was a rush to make a motion. And that's just not good procedure. You should have an opportunity to discuss before somebody makes motions, because the rush to approve, it doesn't look good.
Well, I mean, I thought there was ample time for somebody to, usually people speak right up,
Well, you
even before.
You can call it out of, well, knowing that there's a motion to table on the table, it really doesn't matter which one you vote for first. Because people that want to table are gonna vote against the motion to approve.
Okay,
But you're dumping money here for another school project, and we know those people are infamous for wasting money.
We don't know that.
I do.
okay.
And I know everybody else probably knows, but we got $2,200,000 and some change that came from the lottery funds that's sitting in an account. and they have to use us to draw down the money, right? They have to come to us and confer with us and ask us how we feel since it's a capital expenditure. That money did come from the lottery fund? Okay. So we can get money from the lottery fund and hold it and fix schools all around the county.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, well, I'm just asking everyone, because I've been under the impression that, you had to build one school at one time, you get all the money, and you couldn't just.
It's a different fund than that
Okay.
other fund. But, I think we should look into this in the budget, that maybe we use that money, that we draw that money down the budget, and we can take care of that when budget time comes on the school, as to whether we can draw that money down without the school making a request. We need to look into that. But that's more properly done when we do the budget.
Okay. I'm going to go with the first one, which we had a motion and a second to approve the drawdown of $31,417. All those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand.
I'm gonna have to get out my Robert Rules of Order.
We have Beaufort County rules of order. I think you do that.
Well,
Beaufort County rules.
I mean, Hood was in agreement that we vote on either one first. You must have missed that.
It doesn't matter.
still-
The same people are gonna make the same bad decisions, so it doesn't matter.
It's a matter of protocol.
I think procedurally, you should vote on the motion to table before you vote on the motion, the primary motion that was on the table at the time.
Well, we've already voted now on so, okay.
Okay.
And did I do those that are opposed? I guess that's where you're going to catch me at next.
Well,
Those opposed.
Well, I'm opposed, you're
Okay.
opposed, so.
All right.
Well,
Now we're going to go back to the table.
if it's already passed, why would
we
we have
got-
to
we got-
table it?
Well, if you voted to approve the motion, you can't then vote to table it.
Okay.
You can't unring that bell, Chairman.
I got it. All right.
They get the sound system, that's all I want.
Okay, Brian, we're down to your items. You're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Page 193, this is National Opioid Settlement Funds. There's been an additional agreement from the national side for 6 regional distributors or dispenser defendants. That's not in the amount of $97,625,000 in cash for the purposes of abating the opioid epidemic. Counties and entities have to opt in for that, so you have this attached. The county attorney has reviewed it. I will tell you that it's $97 million spread across the entire United States. I think it comes out to be roughly $15,000 for Beaufort County.
Well, you got more money than I did when I did my calculations.
But it may have been
Thank goodness.
13. But that's why I put in there the participation percentage page. And it is very, very small, but there is a piece there. So you have to opt into it. I tried to give you some additional information. The only thing they sent us was actually Exhibit G, which is the participation form. But I did put the summary overview, the notice document, the percentage page, and the settlement agreement, and provided, I think Commissioner Richardson asked for a couple of attachments that weren't there, so.
Yeah.
And one of those was the fee schedule for the attorneys.
Well, fee
and one
schedule
was
for the attorney, which I
use.
really don't care. I always thought it would be a page or two, but it was like 20 pages long. But the other thing had to do with what the money can be used for, and it's got a real wide variety of things it can be used for.
Yes, sir, it's that same, it's the same uses like we have for the other one.
The other
And-
settlements?
Yes, sir, and they're in the process right now of going through that process, the re-engagement with the public on it. So, again, the county has to opt in for this. It's an electronic opt-in that the chairman does. Like I say, the county attorney has reviewed it, and we would recommend your approval to give the chairman the approval to sign that document electronically.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Question of Amanda and Brian. Did you see the email that I got this afternoon about 3 o'clock? Was that pertaining to anything that requires approval?
Nothing that requires approval. It appeared to me that when you all entered into the engagement agreement with the attorney that's representing the county on that, you had a fee agreement in place for contingency. And so it's my understanding, just in a brief review of that email, that they, now that you've received an additional disbursement, that they are likely looking to get paid.
I got you. Okay, good. All right, we got a motion and a second to approve the additional documents that I'm supposed to sign as it relates to the new six different companies. All those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand. Okay, we're down to item number 2, RCCP Phase 3 Essential Services Resilience Project Contract.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You'll see attached is an agreement with RK&K to do the engineering and planning services for the RCCP grant. This was a grant that we received from DEQ in the amount of $304,500. There are no local funds required for this. You'll see in the contract, there was an RFP put out. RK&K was the responder on it, and they are doing some work relating to essential services and also some work related to radio penetration within school buildings so that we can actually put in a repeater that will give us the engineering to be able to put in as we need a repeater system within the school, because we have really bad issues with getting penetration into the school building because those buildings are built so heavily. That what we would do is essentially look at putting a repeater inside that building where responders wouldn't have to switch over to talk on a different channel, which is the way we have it set up now. And when people are in stressful situations, sometimes they forget to do that. So this would be where they could talk without having that issue at all. Now that's to do the planning and the engineering on it. We would then go after a phase 4 to see if they'd help pay for it or pay for it. So, but we would recommend your approval on this one.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Well, I say,
I'll second.
okay, at the second. Any discussion?
Well, do I understand that, I've looked at this stuff, and as far as I'm concerned, it's 300,000 useless dollars that are being spent. But do I understand that if this company comes back with recommendations, we're not mandated to do this?
No, we're not mandated at all. In fact, what we would do is we would take this recommendation, this engineering study and engineering work, and we'd present it right back to DEQ and say, give us money out of phase 4. And if they did, they did, and we'd do it. If they didn't, we wouldn't.
Okay, well.
Just like we've done the other projects.
Well, it's another useless government project, and people wonder why taxes are high.
Okay, all right. Anybody else got a comment? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, Brian, you want to go to the Town of Belhaven request for inclusion in the Rescue Service Tax District?
Yes, sir. So as you'll recall, several years ago, we did this with Bath and with Pantego. Those jurisdictions, along with Belhaven, were not in the EMS service district. They were actually paying us directly, the equivalent of 5 cents, because we tax in the service district that amount. Like I say, several years ago, we changed that to include, Bath came to us and said, we want you to include us in the service district so we don't have to pay you directly, so that you're taxing people directly, just like you do everybody else. So Pantego and Bath did that. Belhaven has come back and said, we now would like to do that. We would like for the county to include us in that service district. And essentially, we will stop making that transfer out of our general fund. And essentially what you would think, then they would lower their tax rate. But that's their governing board, however they do it. But what they would do is essentially we would incorporate them into that service district. On page 264, you have a resolution from the town. There was actually a glitch in the statute. They have listed 153A 302. It actually should be 153A 303. 302 is when you set up an initial service district. 303 is when you annex property into that service district. What we're doing is annexing that area into the service district, and they meet all the requirements. They're actually completely surrounded by the district. Had a conversation with the county attorney. On the next page, I didn't print, 264. On page 264, you see the calendar that I've laid out for you on the requirements that you're required as a board to do. So first of all, you would have to agree to allow them to become a part of it. They have to, by resolution, approve you to do that, because you can't do anything inside a jurisdiction that a jurisdiction doesn't allow you to do. So they're asking you to do this. So you've met that burden. And then there's certain things we have to do. We have to mail notices like we did for the other communities to every person who lives in the town. Tell them that the public hearing is going to be held to talk about this. You have to have a public hearing, and then you have to adopt it. We have to produce a report that details some things in the statutes about why it's necessary and how it's going to be done. And under the initial establishment, there, if you were to look at 302, it says you got to give the report, you got to put the report in the clerk's office 4 weeks ahead of time. If you're doing just the annexation, adding property in 303, you only have to have it out there for 2 weeks. Well, the county attorney and I had a conversation. We're going to put it out there for 4 weeks so that we cover all our bases, so everybody has it. But that's what this would do. It would essentially do away with them having to pay you directly, which is what they've asked for. I think they are the only jurisdiction that is that way now. Everybody else we tax in the service district. They were the only municipality left who was actually paying us directly.
I have a question. Are they paid up to date?
They are working on finishing up this year's payments.
Okay.
They're not completely up to date yet, but they will be by July 1.
All right, well, this whole thing, whatever we do on this needs to be contingent on them paying us up to July 1st.
So we have means to make sure that they pay us.
Oh, okay.
What happened is they were basing in their budget the same amount, and they didn't consider the reval. See, the new value times 5% was, I don't know whether it was double or not. I don't know what the final bill was, but almost double what they had normally paid. So, and neither the finance officer or the manager had been there long enough to be in that situation. And I think they had just got used to putting the same amount in the budget pretty much every year,
Yeah,
so.
we tried to get them to do this.
Yeah, well, they asked me how could they avoid it happening again, and I said, best thing to do is do what we're doing right now.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, well, now we have a second. Any other comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Okay, the next item is the USDA lease on the extension or the Ag Center.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brian?
Yes, sir. Page 266, the USDA reached out. This is where they currently lease office space at 155B Airport Road from us. The contract or the lease agreement expires July 31 of 26, and they'd like to enter an additional 5-year agreement. You have the term sheet on page 267. They are currently renting from us at $60,557 per year. And they have agreed to increase that to $82,458 a year. And we didn't have to twist their arm on that. So we would ask your approval to allow us to enter into that term extension agreement and sign that new lease agreement with USDA.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any questions? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, now we go down to item number 5, the North Carolina Department of Public Safety Division of Juvenile Justice Lease Agreement.
Yes, sir. So page 269, this one is not as profitable as the other one. This is the juvenile justice lease agreement that you are required by statute to give to them at no cost. So this is the re-upping of the agreement we have with them for a new 3-year term. It runs through the end of January, it ended in January of '26, and they want to renew it on a 3-year term. And again, by statute, this is a no-cost lease agreement that you have to provide for juvenile justice, and it is the same terms as they have before, so we recommend your approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Anyone have a question or comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Okay. All right, we're down to updating and codifying county ordinance. Commissioner Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have not codified or updated our county ordinances in probably at least 15 years. I kind of jokingly at one of our last meetings said that we have a county ordinance that says it's illegal to hunt bear in Beaufort County. And somebody said, no, you're looking at the wrong thing. But we do in fact have an ordinance that says it's illegal to hunt bear in Beaufort County. That's just the first one I found. I'm sure there's probably some other ones in there. We're currently using a group called, I believe it's American Legal. They are horrible. I don't know how much they charge us, but they're not updating anything. So currently, if a citizen wants to find out what do I need to do to make a subdivision, those ordinances are not in there. What do I need to do to make a trailer park? Those ordinances are not in there properly. There's nothing in there about our solar panel ordinances. There's nothing in there about our new junk cars or our other ordinances that we're working on. So what we need to do, we need to recodify our ordinances. There is also a Department of Justice requirement that by April of 2027, you no longer can use a PDF file for anything. It has to be HTML. So that will be another change. So currently, the American Legal people, when you call it up, it's a PDF. A PDF is just a way to show files to people in a certain format. But a lot of people don't have a PDF on their tablet or on their phone or maybe even on their computer. So using the HTML standard, you open it up, everybody can see it. But there are some certain standards and requirements, but counties that have a population of less than 50,000 have until next April. Counties with a population of more than 50,000 have to do it this April. There is a program that's being shown, I think it's May 6th, discussing the HTML thing. But the whole gist of this is for our citizens, for transparency's sake, our citizens are having to hunt and peck and look and stuff, and we don't have a way for our citizens to find an ordinance just by going to a web page on our site that says, here's our ordinances. And we won't be able to look. And if I want to find out what the junk car ordinance is or what the subdivision ordinance is, we won't be able to go find it. And like I say, that I know for a fact some of our ordinance is wrong because it does in fact say we can't hunt bear. So we got to make a change on that.
Yeah, so just to speak to that one, the county attorney, actually, I had a conversation about it. There was an ordinance that was passed by the board in '74 or something that you couldn't hunt bear in Beaufort County because they were saying, I went back and read the minutes, and they were saying that people were coming from out of the county and hunting bear, and the board at the time said, we're not going to allow that anymore. And it was approved. And the conversation with the county attorney is that we're working on an ordinance because you have to have an ordinance to defeat an ordinance. So you can't just have a resolution at a board meeting to say, we're going to do away with that ordinance. So we're working on putting together an ordinance for you that will take away that ordinance. But yes, it's still out there. So it's obviously not enforceable, but it's out there. So we're working on that one. But
So my recommendation is that we determine what's necessary to codify and update our ordinances and get them in the proper format to meet the requirements of the Department of Justice, HTML process and everything else. Because it says in the program when you read it, anything that's current can still be PDF file. But anything after April 2027 has to be in HTML format. And our minutes are in PDF file online. So come April, for a citizen who wants to look at our minutes, has to be able to look at it in HTML format. And there has to be certain requirements about size of fonts and colors and pictures and different things like that for impaired people and things. So there's going to be a little bit of work, and our IT people are going to have to tune into it and everything else.
Yes, sir. So Brandon is aware of that. He's been having conversations with our vendor relating to that, and they're working through that process because it's a national process. So they are working on that. Now for the codification, you're exactly right. We need to work on that.
I understand HTML. And they're using the word HTML as a buzzword, okay? But basically what they're talking about is going from a PDF, which is generally an image file, and taking it and creating text files, and using text files to create the basis, the backbone of the information. And what you do is you enter keywords from those text files, okay? Words, keywords, and then you'll be able to search those keywords. We should be able, our personnel should be able to do that here. This is not rocket science. And we should already be at ADA compliance with whatever vendor we have. So, I mean, that's a given. That should be a given. It should be over 75%.
A little bit of history on this. We contracted with this company that's supposedly putting this stuff up right now, and we realized when they produced the information for us that it was wrong. And we gave it to the county attorney to see to it that it was updated, and he never updated it. So I think the county attorney should be heavily involved in this as a go-to person or whatever to make sure that it is properly done, understanding that the last county attorney didn't do what we asked him to do.
We need to make a motion of some sort.
And as we just look at it at budget, and we decide how we can get it done, and we can go back to the vendor and hold their feet to the fire.
Or you may want to change vendors, and that's why we need the attorney involved in it along, so we can get, so then people know what they're doing.
I mean, if we're not up to ADA compliance, there's a problem, and that's something I would like to know.
Has the clerks talked about it, Katie, in any of your meetings?
At the last conference I was at, the week before, yeah, we had a very long discussion about that, and how we're all actually looking at the codifications and updating everything and getting them on one website, because you're right, sir, it is kind of a long, dark alley to wander down to find what you're looking for, and I get quite a few calls asking where things are.
I think Adobe has inexpensive software to take the PDF file and turn it into a text file. And then once you have it turned into a text file, then you can upload it and upload your keywords at the same time. And we did it with the school system back when they had a really good website, and they were able to search anything they wanted to.
Okay. All right. Hood, resolution of support to increase the penalties for those that sell illegal drugs.
Well, I'm bringing this back because I just can't believe the majority of these commissioners support drugs, and that's the way they voted on the last go-around with this. We all know, and I'm not going to do the whereases, I'm just going to do the therefore on this. We all know the impact that drugs has had on every family in Beaufort County. There are deaths, there are people who can't function in society, there's criminality. Some people say, I say a third, some people say more than half of the jail people are there because of drugs. This is a huge expense on society, and it is getting worse, and we're going to have to do something about this because eventually drugs will engulf us if we let this thing keep going like it is. So beginning with the therefore be it resolved, the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners request the legislature to pass laws targeting those who sell or take compensation for providing drugs for illegal use to include a minimum guaranteed incarceration of 10 years for those who receive compensation for providing drugs for illegal use in any amount. The sentencing may be reduced a maximum of 20% of the maximum penalty for providing information leading to the arrest and conviction of drug dealers. Number two, a maximum security prison be constructed for the exclusive purpose of housing those convicted of selling drugs. 3, persons sentenced shall not be eligible for early release under any condition. Now, I want to remind you, you may sit here and people, I think the last time said, oh, that's harsh treatment. That is not harsh treatment. There are at least 20 countries in the world for selling or possessing illegal drugs. The penalty is death. This is a light sentence compared to what you're going to get if you go to some of these other countries and you start with drugs. So that is a motion. I move that we approve this.
Would you entertain a change?
Well, yeah, I'd be willing to listen.
Would you entertain eliminating item number 2, the construction of an exclusive?
Oh, no.
Purpose?
Oh, no. The problem right now with the prison system in North Carolina that I'm aware of is they can't keep drugs out of prisons. There have been smaller prisons that have been shut down because they've been eat up with drugs and drug smuggling. And we need a maximum security operation for drug dealers to keep them in there and also to keep people from smuggling drugs into these operations. We need to make this into something that is has a name tag to it or a trademark with it, and that is you're going to go to the Richardson prison if you're caught selling drugs. That gets you. When everybody hears the Richardson prison, they're going to know where you've been and what you did. So I want to come down hard on drugs because I am very much aware of the price people in this community are paying for drugs.
Well, most of the time when somebody puts their name on a building, they're putting money in it, so.
I'll pay my taxes.
I mean, the way you described it, I think it's going to take more than yours to make it work. I guess my comment and my thought is that we have a lot more chance of getting the legislature to consider it if we're not talking about forcing them to build a special building.
Well, you know what happens on most of these things is the thing gets up there and they start hunting and picking and taking the parts they want of it anyway. So if you got it in there and the legislature don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. But if you don't ask, you're never going to get consideration.
Okay. Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, while I understand your purpose, I think is a bit severe. And the reason I say that is because now there are some folk who earn their living doing exactly what you said, and I think that this is fine for them. But I think about the young folk who will make a mistake, who will make a bad decision. When you have 16, 17, 18 years old, and they decide to sell a bag of weed, and now all of a sudden you've ruined them with this, that you're going to send them to prison for mandatory 10 years. If you can clean that up some, I'm all with you, but if you want to do specific schedules, I think Schedule 6 and Schedule 5, I don't think should be included in that.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but you do understand, again, when the legislature gets this, they're going to do whatever they want to with it. They're not going to do anything that I say to do right here. It's going to get mangled and strangled when it gets up there. But the whole idea behind this is that we are letting the legislature know where we stand on drugs, and you need to wake up and you need to start doing something about it. And I understand your compassion for the young person that makes one mistake. I'm 85 years old. My experience with drug dealers is they don't change. So I don't have any sympathy for people that go out and destroy families and destroy children and kill people with what they're doing. They need to be in prison, all of them. And also, I'll point out to you that if the name Richardson Prison and you're going there, if you do this, you think the parents are not going to say, you need to stay out of Richardson Prison. You don't need to be out there dealing drugs.
You do have quite a reputation.
Okay, any other comment? All right, got a motion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, you want to go to the audit report for all entities Beaufort County provides money to.
You know, we, trying to be nice guys, about 10 or 15 years ago, told the people that we give charity money to that they didn't have to submit audits to us, that we were not going to require a formal audit simply because at that time it was the expense of the audit. So, but we have had so much trouble with people stealing from these institutions. Town of Belhaven, Town of Chocowinity, fire departments, and some of the other stuff that goes on in Beaufort County with government money, and we're not requiring audits from these organizations. And my motion is that we require an audit from everybody, every independent organization that we give money to, that we require an audit from them every year. That is a motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it, but I have long said we need to have an agreement with these people. I mean, a written agreement, one that we review each year if we're going to give them money. And we give a lot of money to charities. So, and I'm not saying that EMS or volunteer EMS is charities, but I think Hood is rolling everybody under the same umbrella, aren't you, Hood?
Yeah.
So I think we have to look at it the same way to not be in a situation where we are not acting appropriately general statutes.
Yes.
Mr. Richards, are you talking about their audit or are you talking about us doing the audit?
No, they present their audit to us.
Okay,
They pay for it themselves. We're not going to go audit them.
Well, don't.
You got two mics.
You got two, yeah. Well, I was thinking, if I'm not mistaken, all those people still, they already do the audit. Whether we get it or not, they already do the audit. I mean, I know the town of Belhaven and I know the EMS service and the fire services and they do audits, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the question is, why aren't we requiring them to present an audit?
Well, let me first correct one statement you made. It's not the town of Belhaven, it's the nonprofit that has had problems.
Yes, but that group, what he stole the money from in Belhaven, what he is alleged to have stolen the money from in Belhaven, was a set-up separate bank account organization that was incorporated as a nonprofit.
Well,
that's my understanding.
Yeah. And we've made contributions to it, so it would affect them.
Yeah.
The problem that they're going to have is that a lot of the CPAs now are getting away from doing any of these because of the peer review and the cost. So I don't know what some of them, let's just say they have $100,000 budget. I don't know that anybody's going to provide anything other than what I would call a compilation.
Well, there's an alternative.
Which would be their letter. I mean, a letter from the
Well,
CPA.
there's an alternative that you could use, and that is most of them file what, 1099s, nonprofits, 1099s? We need to see their 1099. And what you're going to find out is about half of these organizations aren't filing their 1099s timely. But we need to require something more sophisticated than we're getting. There's too much fraud.
Is there a trigger amount for filing a 1099, Anita? Do you know that?
Well, first of all, the form you're referring to is not 1099. A 1099 is what
Yeah.
an independent contractor gets.
You're right.
I know what you're talking about, but that's not the form number.
It's not, that's right.
As far as audits of nonprofits, first of all, there's a misnomer about what an audit is. An audit is not designed to catch fraud. It's just not what an audit is. When our auditors come in, what they're doing is they're doing a sample of our thousands and thousands of transactions that we have during the year. They're looking at a sample of those, testing them to make sure that we've recorded our revenues and expenditures properly, and that the numbers that we have recorded on our balance sheet and profit and loss statements actually represent what happened. They're not actively looking for fraud. Now, if they find fraud, they're required to report it and let everybody know about it. But that's not really the essence of what an audit is to begin with. Having said that, as far as nonprofits go, are they required to have an audit? No. Could you put that stipulation on them in order, for them to receive funding? Yes, I think you could. It's cost prohibitive for them, though, probably to have an audit. The county audit is about $70,000 a year. I'm not sure what a CPA firm would charge a nonprofit, that might only take in $20,000 or $30,000 a year to begin with to review a sample of their transactions, not even looking for fraud, just to make sure they're recording their transactions that they look at properly. So.
Well, where I'm going with this, I agree with you. That's exactly what an audit does, is what you said. But what I'm trying to do is to find a way to sensitize these people that we're giving money to, that we don't know how it's being spent. The truth of the matter is we don't know how it's being spent. To sensitize them that there's some kind of oversight to what they're doing. And you've had, again, I'll say this, you've had too many known cases of fraud, and there's no telling how many other cases of fraud there are out there that involve public money. Some of these so-called public institutions, the reason the fraud works so well is it's not like a business where a businessman or a person who has an interest in this is keeping a close eye on what's going on. There are very few people to oversee and that care what really happens to the money. And if it's an audit report, if it's available, we want that. Or if it's this misidentified nonprofit form that they have to file every year, we want that. We want something more than we are getting in order to stop this.
So as far as outside agencies go, I'm not talking about the EMS and fire agencies. I'm talking about the nonprofits that you give money to each year in your budget. They are required to fill out 3 forms for us. They fill out a financial report that lists all of their revenues and expenditures for the previous year, and what they anticipate for the next year. So they do give us financial information. Could it be bogus? Absolutely, it could be. They're required to give us participant information about their program, the number of folks they serve in different age ranges and things like that. Y'all have seen these.
Yes,
We give them to you every year. And then they're also required to provide a narrative specifically of what they plan to spend any money you give them that year on. So we do require them to give us information. Could it be bogus information? Yes. Is it audited information? No. But we do require certain information.
Well, maybe it's these things just haven't come around in the last few years. You're right, I've seen them, y'all have given them to us, but I don't remember, I just don't remember seeing them.
We've been putting them in a separate document because honestly, when people are giving us bank statements and tax ID numbers on their IRS forms, I do not like to have that in the budget document scanned in online, but we have been providing it as supplemental information to everyone every year in the budget.
Because I was going to simply say that, because some of the people who we actually give money to, they are small amounts of money. I'll give you the example of citizens on the south side. You're only giving them $3,000. And to have an audit for that is just crazy. But they do give an account for every dollar they get from us and exactly what they've done with it. And it's just like with the Green Lamp Community Action, which I sit on. I mean, they have an annual budget. They just simply have to show it to us. And they also, every dollar that Greenland gets from the county, they have to specify exactly how it was spent inside of Beaufort County.
Well, I just think we need to keep this in front of us. With Stephen.
And if the nonprofit is making more than $50,000 or making less than 50,000, it's a 990 N. That's what they file.
that's
Yeah.
Everyone we give probably making less than
One of the big operations.
All right, you want to go to tax revenue neutral discussion?
We somehow have wound up taxing people more than revenue neutral. The commissioners committed, when the revaluation was done, that the tax would be revenue neutral. And the tax rate that we have on people is not revenue neutral. And the reason that I know this is when we did our budget workshops recently, the collection, you collected or levy, let's talk the levy. The levy amount for 2024 that year was $37,045,000. The levy amount this year is supposed to be the same amount as the levy amount in 2024. The levy amount in 2025, 26 fiscal year, is $39,770,000. That's a difference of $2.7 million more that we are collecting in what is supposed to be revenue neutral, that we should be collecting. So did we make a mistake when we calculated this? How did we get to the point that the levy is higher this year than it was last year? That's a 7.48% increase in tax collections. No, wait a minute. You guys can shake your head over there all you want to, but the promise that was made to Beaufort County citizens was that we would not collect any more revenue in taxes this year than we did last year. And the truth of the matter is we are.
Brian?
Yes, sir. So Commissioner Richardson, that's actually not correct. There is a formula, there is a spreadsheet that comes from the local government commission. And we plug those numbers into that, and it tells us what our revenue neutral number is. That spreadsheet was in your budget book. And to say that you are not taxing someone higher, it depends upon what your valuation is. Revenue neutral is across the entire area. It's not down to the individual level. Now, when you talk about levy, let's talk about levy. I think our folks did an absolutely fantastic job on the levy because we were less than 1% what we estimated the levy to be. Now, the number that you're looking at came off a TR 401G collection report, and the way revenue neutral, the counties are allowed to get the growth in the next year. That's the way the statute is written. So they look back and they average the growth over the last 8 years, and you get credit for that potential growth in the next year. So you haven't taken that into account. That's in the spreadsheet, that's in the statute. So you do, it's not exactly what you got last year. You get the benefit of potential growth. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is when you pull that number, that 39 million, you didn't take the revenue collection percentage of 0.9843. We collect about 98.43% of the taxes we levy. That's required by statute as well, by the Local Government Fiscal Control Act. We are not allowed to budget 100% of that. They do not allow us to do that. They say you can only use what your audited numbers were from the last year. So if you look at that number and you multiply it by 0.9843, it comes in to be less than 1% on a $42 million revenue line item. We got within 1% of that, less than 1%. I think that's pretty dang good. On a $42 million revenue line, we estimated that levy in a year where you're doing revaluation, where we are just making an estimate, we're making an educated guess on how much money y'all are going to give back in Board of E&R. We don't know that. We make an estimated guess on it, and then we figure out what that is going to be. We do all that before a lot of action is taken by y'all because it is an estimate on the budget. And I think for us to come within less than 1% on a revenue estimate, that's pretty dang good. So you can criticize us all you want, but that's pretty good math.
Well, not that we're taking somebody out to hang them on this issue. Let's go back to the basics. The various bureaucratic things about what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do and all that kind of stuff don't apply. The promise was made that we would not collect more money in taxes this year than we collected last year. And when were you elected to office?
Then Commissioner Richardson, and sorry about that, then you made a wrong promise, because we've been very clear to y'all that what revenue neutral is. We've explained that. You've done revaluations multiple years. You know what revenue neutral is. And if you say to somebody as an elected official, you say to them, I'm not collecting any more taxes than I did last year, then you're not telling them the truth. Because again, this is on overall. The revenue neutral rate applies to the overall collection, not individual taxpayers, because my valuation may have gone up higher than her valuation. So my taxes may be different. But the other thing that you say is the bureaucratic piece. That's statute, that's law. We have to apply by that. It's not bureaucratic. It's in the Local Government and Budget Control Act. We are required by law to do that. We cannot do 100% of the levy. We have to do last year's, what we actually collected. And we have to use that spreadsheet. That spreadsheet was in your budget when we provided it to you. It tells you everything exactly the way it is. And we were less than 1% on that difference. Pretty dang good, I think.
Well, all that is good and well, but I'm using levy to levy. Because you can get into all of these numbers about 98% and all that, and it just confuses the public. The levy for 2024 was the $36,429,000, and the levy for this year is $39,770,000. Now, and the public understood when we told them that taxes would not be increased. We're not talking about your individual taxes. We're talking about the levy. We told them the levy would not increase. The county will not collect more money this year than it did last year. So all of this aside, insofar as somebody trying to hang somebody and the recriminations of who shot John and all that kind of stuff, if we in fact collected the $2.7 million more this year than we did last year, we should return this to the taxpayer. And the best way to return that 7.48% to the taxpayer is to reduce taxes for the coming year. The same people will be paying taxes next year, 99% of them that paid the taxes this year. So we can very easily refund their money by reducing taxes 7.48% for the coming year. That makes us even. We have honored our commitment to the public that we were not going to be collecting more dollars in taxes this year than we collected last year. And that comes to about 41 cents would be the tax rate if we did that. And that's what I'm proposing. I'm not proposing that we go out and try to find somebody to hang and blame and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying it doesn't matter how it happened. If it happened according to the statutes and the way the numbers were filled in and all that sort of thing, we did not do what we promised the tax-paying public that we would do. And we need to give them their money back.
All right, you want to talk about the state budget for the hospital?
I'd like.
No, that's a motion.
Yeah, I will.
That's a motion, that we give them their over-collected money back in the coming year by reducing taxes to the approximately 41%. The accountants can come up with the exact numbers, and if we need to go to millage to do that, we go to mills.
Yeah, I'd like to second that motion, but I'd also like to speak to it. Basically, what Hood's talking about, and he's talking about just ad valorem taxes, and I'm sure that would be configured in such a manner that we would just consider the 2.7 million that we charged more than we got the year before. And that's an understanding that the guy on the street has of revenue neutral. It's an understanding I have because it's a political issue. Political issue is the people understanding things, because in politics you're dealing with people. We're a political body. So I understand where Hood's coming from. In fact, we voted to lower taxes last year since we had so much money, and we were in we knew that there'd be more money coming in. We thought there'd be more money coming in. I mean, I paid a lot more taxes this year than I paid last year on the same property, and it was over 10%. So for me, it didn't seem like revenue neutral. It might be for some of the people, but it wasn't for me. And so I think what Hood's talking about is a political issue. And I would second that, because as a political issue, I think we're taking in too much money and we need to give it back. I mean, whether we spend less and we cut what some people would call waste, fraud, and abuse, we spend less and then we tax less. And that's how we get to revenue neutral, the clear revenue neutral.
I think the public would appreciate if we said, look, we followed the law. Nobody says you didn't follow the law. We followed the law, but we still missed what we promised you that we were going to do. And we're going to give you that back in the coming year by lowering the tax rate.
Anyone else have anything to say?
Do you have one of those for the clerk, Stan? I want that in the minutes.
Anyone else have anything to say on it before we vote?
I didn't make that promise. I explained revenue neutral like we were told all along. And I told that people, I said, some people's taxes are going to go up based on revaluation, and some people are going to go down. And if you're on the river, you probably are going to go up. You have to wait and see what it's all out. But we did revenue neutral like the state told us to do it. And so, and I've said this story many times, when I ran EMS, I never had anybody that I was doing CPR on want to discuss taxes.
I want you to be aware, I'm not talking about individual taxes, just like the manager says. We're not talking about it. We're talking about the county was not going to collect more money this year than it collected last year. We're going to be revenue neutral. Stan's right. The public understands revenue neutral with what I just said. The bureaucrats understand revenue neutral. We're going to follow the statutes, and we're going to do whatever the statutes say, and whatever it comes up, that's revenue neutral. That's fine. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing we need to do what we promised the public we would do, the way the public understands it. There's a little principle here that excuse me, Amanda, when you get into the court system, that a lot of times it depends on what that individual understood things are. And I can give you some real good examples of that. One short one is, there was a company went into Alabama which has the mineral graphite. And the farmer leased the company the land. And he told them, I'm not leasing you my lead, because that's another name for graphite. Plumbago is a name for graphite. There are other names for it. And he told them over and over, I'll lease you this land, you can pay me all this money, but I'm not leasing my lead. And they said, oh, that's fine, because they put Plumbago in the lease and a bunch of other things to cover themselves. They got into court. The farmer was doing the leasing. He knew what he was leasing and what he was doing, and he won the lawsuit. The same thing applies here. It's the public that knows what they thought we were telling them, and what I was telling them was, we're not going to collect any more dollars than what we have been collecting. And we owe this back to the public.
You do it for that 1 year,
Yeah.
And then after that, it's a new game, a new ball game. Since it went up to, as Hood says, $2.7 million that first year, Hood's suggesting that we give that $2.7 million back, and then the next year it's a new ball game. Is that what you're saying, Hood, pretty much?
Let's see how far this goes. Anyone else have any comments?
And so, one more thing I didn't get to finish. As I said before, this is a political issue. I mean, it's the way we understand things.
Are you running for office?
I'm running all the time. This is body politic. I'm on, spotlight's on me constantly.
Right.
So,
okay, anyone else have any comments before we, all right? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Okay. All right, you want to talk about, well, we've got 2 minutes left. You guys want to take a break now? Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to take a break, Brandon, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Break, and we're down to item number 5, the state budget new hospital proposal. Hood?
Okay, the word is out there, something about building a new hospital, a tower in Beaufort County. And the public needs to be aware of what is really going on here. The plan is to, with the hospital being closed in Martin County, is to have an emergency for the East Carolina Hospital, or whatever it's called right now. They change the name every week to get another grant. Is to have an emergency room in Martin County, and then to send the emergency patients that require emergency to Beaufort County, and to have something like what they have in Belhaven in Martin County. But the plan among the political group, the higher political group, was that the state, listen to this, that the state would put up the money to build a new tower hospital, which would be apparently a 5 or 6 story building, built on the same campus that the present hospital is located on. And that was going to be in the state budget. And my understanding from the clerk is that she and other county people have searched the state budget and they can't find it in there. Well, we all know what happens in Raleigh when the legislature's in session. People are walking around with bills in their pocket and all of a sudden they slip it in, and it happens so fast that nobody knows what's going on. But my understanding is presently that that money is not proposed in the state budget, which hasn't been passed yet. But what troubles me about this is, I'm glad to see us get a new hospital, but what troubles me is they want to tear down the existing hospital. They're playing the game that the existing hospital is antiquated and it must be torn down in order to get the new hospital. That's a serious problem because those buildings are not in bad shape at all. The maintenance that's been done bringing them up since Vidant, I'll call it Vidant for the moment, got the hospital, all those improvements have been worthwhile. There are a lot of the rooms that are still remodeling, and they have stopped remodeling them, waiting on the gravy train from Raleigh. So if the people of Beaufort County want to see the present hospital torn down, that's what's going to happen when the new hospital is built. Now, the present hospital, because of their good condition, these are economic. Where'd our economic girl go? She left us when we needed her. These can be economic incentives. That can be a very important economic future for Beaufort County because of the fact that you're on a hospital campus and you have these buildings there that are rigged for a hospital. They could be used for a lot of things. They could become, for instance, a rehab hospital for narcotics. There are a lot of uses that these buildings could be put to. And I am very concerned that we don't tear those buildings down. Now, the last time there's been a lot of lobbying that has gone on since this has become exposed, and I feel free to tell everything that I know. There's been a lot of lobbying done in the background among various so-called local important people that we're going to get a new hospital. But they're not telling them the whole story. So the Chamber of Commerce the last time got involved in the hospital issue, and they messed it up for a fare thee well. And that cost us the hospital in Belhaven because they felt like they were smarter than everybody else. So be aware, the public needs to be aware that we are going to lose a very valuable economic incentive for Beaufort County if this plan that these politicians and these people in the hospital system, if it goes through. I see what's up there is, yes, build a tower hospital, I'm for that, but use what's there to develop a medical future for Beaufort County. And that's what we need to be doing, and I'm hoping the commissioners will get on board with this because the meeting that I was in, the commissioners became kind of hostile
at me for saying, we don't need to tear this thing down, we need to use it for our economic advantage, and the public needs to be aware that if they don't rise up, that is what is going to happen.
Well, I was at that meeting, and not one time did they say they were going to tear down the hospital.
Frankie, they were lying to you every step of the way.
So what are you doing
You
now?
should have had the conversation I had with-
You're trying to twist it around and make a lie out of what they said.
Yeah, they were lying to you. I said it in plain English. You should have been involved in the conversation I had with that head man in the parking lot after this was over with. We were nose to nose, and he's threatening me every way that he can threaten me because he makes about 8 or 10 million a year. He's looking after his job and more money for him.
I was at the same meeting. Nobody ever said anything about tearing down. In fact, they said that we were so short of space that this bed tower would be next to the hospital, the way I understand it.
What do you think they were telling you when they took you on a tour of the hospital and you walked through the hospital rooms, and in every room they said, look how antiquated these rooms are. They're too small to be used for anything. This has to be done away with. Our new hospital is going to take the place of this. Now, I can't help it if you don't have the intellect to know what they were doing to you. That is your problem. But I picked up on what was going on, and I flagged it in the meeting, and all you guys got mad at me because Hood knew what was going on.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Jerry, it's my understanding that, unless it's changed the last time I spoke with me, is that most of the old hospital will be repurposed. They're going to find purposes for every bit of it. So I haven't heard anything about any demolition. I have not heard that at all. I mean, because basically I agree with you, Hood. No, it should not be torn down because it is a good building. And as far as I'm concerned, they're going to fulfill their words and say that they will repurpose the building.
I think Hood is discussing with the public and us. Forewarned is forearmed. And Hood is a little scared because he was here years and years ago when we spent over $10 million for surgical rooms. And we had to go borrow the money. And we had to take the hospital out of our name and make it a regional authority. And what happened after that is we could not get the paperwork each year, the accounting of how the hospital was spending their money, and they got in trouble. So when they got in trouble, that was the first pathway that they were going down for us to lose our hospital, at least lose the advantage we had in that hospital, that financial advantage we had at that time. So what Hood is saying is, be careful. They will lie to you. They'll do what they think is best. And for them. Everybody, the thing I remember when we were dealing with the Chamber of Commerce and all the good citizens of Beaufort County, and there was a little mob effect, a pretty great mob effect. They all kept saying, they are nonprofit. They are nonprofit. They are nonprofit. ECU Health is a for-profit organization. Don't kid yourselves. They are not a nonprofit. They've never been a nonprofit. Vidant was never a nonprofit. They take what money they get that's over and above that admin fee, and they spread it out amongst themselves. And it's a lot of money, a lot of money. And we have not really benefited from all of that nonprofitism that they kept preaching. The Chamber of Commerce and all these fine people around Beaufort County knew more than we did. So we voted against that. We voted to keep that hospital, and we lost that vote. But it was not a good day.
And Vidant was the prime mover in shutting the hospital down in Belhaven.
Yes.
Because they bought the hospital, or supposedly took the hospital over to run it, and the two people who were on the board personally told me before they died, and that was the doctor, what's his name down there, Boyette?
Yeah.
And the president of the bank down there, Dick Ray,
Yeah.
that they didn't have a written contract. They just gave the hospital to them based on good faith of Vidant running it. And Vidant lied to them, and that's how you lost the hospital in Belhaven. They didn't put it in writing.
Charlie Boyette just to the 180 degrees on his opinion on what to be done with our
Charlie was
hospital.
very upset when
Very
he died.
upset.
Dick Ray was very upset when he died.
Yes. So I think that's what Hood is talking about, and we need to be ready for that. The hospital's in great shape. I think it's in good a shape as the older part of ECU Health. And those surgical rooms are pretty recent. They're only about 20 years old, I'd estimate.
Anyone else? Okay,
I would like for the clerks, you said that you found an article somewhere. I would like you to find that article and send it to all of us, because I would like to see that article. Excuse me, that was the end of that.
all right, you want to go to, well, next one is Stan.
Okay. The United States of America must continue to enforce immigration codes to protect our citizens. Think about that. I want to use my bully pulpit right now to advocate heartily that my federal government follows the codes that are on the books and continues to enforce immigration law in this nation. Because I'm not so sure it's going to happen. I mean, I watch what's happening in the deepest blue cities of the deepest blue counties of the deepest blue states. So let's talk about Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, where ICE was up there trying to do their job, enforce immigration laws, remove the worst of the worst. And yes, they would have been removing less than the worst of the worst eventually, but that's what they do. That's their job. I mean, we saw nearly 15 million people, or somewhere in that range, come across our borders, our southern border and our northern border, and they flew them in. They did everything they could to advance bringing in illegal aliens into this country. And I don't know why they did it, other than maybe for greater representation in some of these blue states so they can get more money and more representation in Congress, which is part of the Constitution of the United States. Because our founders never thought that we would try to make citizens out of non-citizens and pay to bring these people in and break every law in the books to do it. In fact, the southern border, and I've said this here many times, the southern border of the United States is the most pervasive and enormous crime scene in the history of this nation, maybe in the history of the world. We knowingly allowed this to happen, and we were lied to. We were lied to by the Biden administration each and every day, and they used the Democratic Socialist propagandist media, Orwellian in scope, to lie to all the people that are stupid enough to listen to those news outlets. And they're still doing it. They're doing it right now as we prosecute a war in Iran. They're doing everything they can because they know the base, their base. Most of them suffer from TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. They hate Donald Trump more than they love their country. They actually do. So what I'm going to ask is the public to understand that the non-patriot left is out there to take your country away from you. They made martyrs of two people. They enticed them to become martyrs. One, they taught this girl how to evade and help stop people from arresting these illegals. And she got herself in a position where she ran over an ICE agent and she got shot.
That's not true.
I've seen the tape. That is true. It is absolutely true. Then they enticed another young man to take a loaded gun to a street fight. And the street fight was against ICE agents. I mean, I don't know if you see that this is Darwinian stuff. And you know what the Darwinian awards are?
Wacky weed.
No, that's not wacky weed. Well, maybe so. What these people are doing are getting awards because they are reducing their genetic information from the gene pool. And they're being celebrated for doing so before they have children. And it's wrong for money to be spent and institutional awareness be forced on people that aren't smart. And these people were not smart, and now they're dead. And they've been made martyrs. Okay? How many more martyrs are we going to have on one side to stop immigration enforcement of immigration law, while on the other side we have wives and daughters and small children being taken advantage of by these illegals that are in our country en masse, tens of millions of people during the Biden administration. Okay? So I'm very angry about it, and a lot of people are angry about it. And they're going to get more angry about it as more instances occur where the weak are being taken advantage of by the mendacity of evil. No, ICE is not evil. You think ICE is evil?
When you don't do your jobs appropriately, that is being evil. I mean,
Well,
anybody who's been in law enforcement understand that you do things a certain way. I don't have a problem with them enforcing the law, but do it according to the law.
You're a former police officer,
That's-
right?
that's right. So I can say this.
You can say this. How would it be for you be tasked with enforcing the law, and they're blowing whistles at you, they're trying to run over you, they're boxing your car in, they're throwing bricks at your car constantly, they're blowing horns in your ear, and they're doing that every day, every day. You can't sleep at night because they're out there protesting. They're getting paid to protest too. And that's an investigation that needs to happen. But as a former police officer, don't you think you could have slipped up and made a mistake at some point? With all that going on? As somebody who respects your former job, I would advocate on the other side that they should not be able to do that because they are breaking the law because they're interfering with the due process of the federal agents doing their job.
Well, most of the people who have an issue with ICE is because of the way that ICE is doing business. I mean, yes, illegal immigrants need to be arrested. That's no problem with that. I don't have any issue with that. But what I'm saying is we have a certain way that we're supposed to enforce the law in these United States. I mean, and I will tell you like this, and Tandy can agree with me, we never arrested anybody wearing a mask.
Well, I've seen a lot of people wear masks when they didn't need to. And
No, I'm talking
people
about arresting people, kicking in the door and coming in with a mask on.
Yeah, they have to do that because they're being doxxed. Their families are being doxxed. These people are nefarious. They are awful. They're evil. They are going after the families. You think I am being reactionary? Let me tell you something. The millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars are being spent to do this to our nation right now. And it's being spent by people who have an interest in destroying our nation. And they're getting all the dumb people to work for them. They're useful idiots, every one of them.
It's just like, I read this today, that ICE went on a military base and arrested a newlywed.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Okay.
I really don't care, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That's what I want. I want the state to pass the budget. That's all I want.
Well,
Okay,
let me
well,
just say, I'm going to end with this one statement. And I appreciate you joining in with this debate, Jerry. Thank you very much. But I just want to say this one thing, and it's very important to me. Things are going to change. Most of the bad problems are happening in the bluest counties, where the bluest cities remain in the bluest states. Now, we had some problems in Charlotte and probably going to have some problems in Wake County as well because they've got a lot of blue people that don't think very well. I mean, Democratic Socialists, non-patriot leftists, and most of them have TDS, or a good bit of them have. Enough, the base. Now, it's not happening out in the hinterlands. It's not happening in Beaufort County. Our sheriff is going to honor every detainer he gets. And all these other counties are going to do it. And they're supposed to be doing it in the bluest counties of North Carolina because the General Assembly told them to do it. It's in general statute now for them that they can no longer be a sanctuary county or sanctuary city in this state because we're a free state.
Okay.
We have something called the Supremacy Clause in the United States Constitution. And states, cities, they cannot do what they want to do when the federal government has a law on the books that says we're going to take this person.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Let's go into the reading by Katie into our closed session.
Motion is needed to go into closed session under NCGS 143-31811A5, property acquisition, and NCGS 143-31811A6 for personnel to consider qualification, competence, and performance conditions and appointment of a public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Need a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved. Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to come out of closed session. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you. We will not take any action, or did not take any action at this time. We're down towards the very end. Before I open it up, Hood, let me make sure everybody understands. We will not have a motion to adjourn tonight. After it's over with, you'll hear me say that we're going into recess until April the 23rd. So now the floor is open.
Okay, I will take less than 2 minutes. My comments are, I'm disappointed that this board does not understand how terrible drugs are on society and how they have damaged the people of the county. The people that have been damaged are at least owed something in controlling drugs rather than this liberal method. I can tell you that there's 20-something countries in the world that the penalty is death. And we're over here playing patty cake with drug people, and that we don't need to be doing that. You want to shut this thing down, you're going to have to do the right thing and put a stop to it instead of keep throwing money at the problem. And that's all that we're doing. I'm also disappointed on the tax situation, that the board is not willing to refund the tax money to these people, because to me it's an ethical issue that this board promised that they were not going to collect more dollars than they collected last year. And there's a significant amount of money. People are being overtaxed to 7.5%. Plus, there's at least 10% that we need to give them. There's a huge tax decrease for the people of Beaufort County that they are owed and they are due. That's it.
Okay, any other commissioner? I just have a request. Yes. The May meeting. The May meeting, I have a conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, that's where you're advocating against.
No, that was not it, Stan. That was not it. And I'm hoping everything will be fine when I get there.
Yeah, it probably won't.
Okay.
You're gonna start arresting those people for fraud.
Okay, what he's asking, all right, so we're talking about moving the meeting from May the
4th to the 11th.
4th to the 11th.
Yeah, budget on the 11th.
Well, let me say this. You guys can move the meeting if you want to, but I want to remind you that we were hostile when Stan asked for a meeting to be moved. And I'm not voting to move meetings for people that will not show the same courtesy to the rest of us.
Yeah, what date do you want to move it to?
The 11th.
The next week, anytime the next week, I don't care. Except for Wednesday night.
If I do remain on this board,
You'll be there.
I would like it if you would show me a little deference every now and then.
Do you believe in forgiveness?
I mean, I'm not a member of the Center Left Coalition. I'm not a member of the Center Left Coalition, but I would appreciate just a small piece of deference.
Okay,
Because he didn't vote for Stan.
all right,
You guys never vote for Stan.
all right. We don't have anything scheduled for the 11th, do we?
We do. That's when I make my presentation to you on the budget, on the 11th. That's the manager's recommended budget presentation.
We can do it all at the same time.
Yeah, we can do it at the same time.
Is that all right?
Long, right?
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Do it. Need a motion, Katie? All right. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we move the meeting in May to May 11th at 5.
5:30.
Okay, 5:30. It's even better.
All right. Did we get a second?
Second.
All right, and we got a second. Yeah. All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Okay.
You expect him to do it next time?
I
Well, if he's
expect-
gonna
I
show you
expect
the
some
same
deference
courtesy,
on
then
it
I'll
when it
vote
makes
for
good
it.
sense.
It'll be unanimous, but don't expect to come in here.
Turn the mic on so
Don't
we can
expect to
get
come in here and beat up on one commissioner, show discourtesy and disrespect, and then ask for favors for yourself. Jerry, that is not Christian.
Okay. Okay, I think you've said enough. All right, we're gonna recess until Thursday, April the 23rd at 4 p.m. Here in this same room, so.
And just a reminder, May the 4th, you have a JCPC breakfast meeting that morning at 8 o'clock.
Okay, that's still on. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.